Algebra. What is it? What is algebra? Algebra is probably something that you've heard of before. In America, actually, they don't have maths classes. They split their maths up into different classes. So you have an arithmetic class, and then you might have a geometry class, then you might have a statistics class, and then you might have algebra class. But what is algebra? And why on earth, to explain what algebra is, have I got a set of weighing scales with some compasses in it? By the way, these are balanced. That's important. Another word that you'll need to know is equation. You might have heard the word equation before. We all know what an equation is. An equation is basically anything with an equal sign. 1 plus 1 equals 2. That's what an equation is. An equation is anything with an equal sign. But what is an equation? Well, actually, it's a bit like a weighing scale. Ah, that's why I've got the scales. It's a bit like a scale. Whatever's on this side needs to be exactly the same as that side. So if I took away one of those ones, that's no longer correct, so I'd have to change it. 1 now equals 1. Just like here, I've got 2 compasses here and 2 compasses here. 2 compasses equals 2 compasses. If I took one away from this side, it'd become unbalanced. It's no longer equal. So I need to take one from that side to make it equal again. Similarly, if I add something onto it, I need to add something onto the other side to make sure everything's in balance. Okay, so what then is algebra? Let me get another one of these sheets, they're very useful. What then is algebra? In fact, let's go outside. So, if an equation is just something with an equal sign, with everything on the left of the equal sign being exactly the same as everything on the right of the equal sign, then what's that got to do with algebra? Well, if we don't know what one or more parts of that equation is, then we need to use algebra. So algebra is an equation with unknowns. Let me show you what I mean. So, if I had 2 plus something equals 5. 2 plus something equals 5. The something, this is when we start using algebra. We don't know what that thing is, so we need to work it out. Now, we don't actually use a line like that. What we do instead is we use, normally, a letter of the alphabet. Now, it doesn't matter which letter you use. For some reason, they usually use A, B, C or X, Y, Z. So, there we go. 2 plus A equals 5. And the whole point of algebra then is to work out what that A is. Now, you can probably already see it. We'll go into a bit more detail when this gets harder in a second. But A, obviously, equals 3. So that's how you work out your first algebra problem. 2 plus A equals 5, so A must equal 3. So why do we use that? Well, let me say, okay, example 1. There's 2 ways you can use algebra, really. The first one, if I'm trying to think, well, if I'm marking your books, it means I've got 29 books that I have to mark. So when I take your English books home, I have to mark 29 of them. And then when I'm marking them, I think to myself, oh, I broke the chalk. I think to myself, okay, well, so far, I've managed to mark 20. I managed to mark 20. And I don't know how many I've got to mark left, so I do know, however, though, that I've got 29 in total, and I do know that I've marked 20. So 20 plus B, remember, it doesn't matter what letter it is, 20 plus B equals 29. I've marked 20, I know that in total I've got 29, so 20 plus the unmarked books equals 29. So how many unmarked books do I have? Well, the way I do it, remember thinking about the scale. Remember, if I think about the scale, if I took 20 away from this side, then this would be unbalanced, this wouldn't work. So remember, whatever I do to the left side, I have to do to the right side. So if I took 20 away from the left side, I'd be left with just B. If I took 20 away from the right side, I'd be left with 9. And now it's telling me what the answer is. I have 9 unmarked books. The other way, oh, it's cold. The other way that algebra can be useful is if it's less that a number is unknown, it's just a number is changed. So let's think about that job that I had when I was a teenager. We talked about how much money I got paid. Let's think about that one again. I've lost my pink chalk. And imagine that my boss said to me, you get paid £5 for every hour that you work. You work £5 for every hour that you work. Okay? So, then what I can say is, alright, so if I got paid, how much would I get paid in a single day? Well, it depends on how many hours I work. So if I got paid £5 times the hours I work equal, I'm going to write P here, the amount of money I get. So the amount of money I get in a day is 5 times the amount of money times the amount of hours equals how much I get paid. So if I work 1 hour, it's going to be £5 times 1, which equals 5. If I worked 10 hours, it'd be 5 times 10 equals 50. Okay? So that's my formula. Now, interesting fact about algebra. Instead of writing 5 times h, I can actually just write it like this. 5h. That makes sense, doesn't it? 5h. That's 5 h's, so 5 hours. £5 for every hour, sorry. So 5 times h, you can just write as 5h. I'm running out of pink chalk, so I'm going to have to change colour. Now, I can actually modify that. I can say to my boss, yeah, that's fine, £5 for every hour I work is fine, but it costs me £3 to get the bus. So he says to me, okay, well fine, I'll pay for your bus every day as well. So now I get £5 for every hour plus an extra £3 for the bus. Equals pay. So it doesn't matter if I work 1 hour or 20 hours, he'll always give me £3 for my bus fare. So let's say now I worked 10 hours again. That if I worked 5 hours I'd get paid 50. But this time, 5h, 5 times h, if h is 10, that's going to be 50. Plus 3 equals 53. Okay, so that's the second way that algebra can be useful. So, just a reminder, algebra is a formula where you don't know what part of it is. So it can either be like this, 20 plus b equals 29, so b must equal 9. We've worked out what the missing number was. That's basic algebra. Or this one as well, 2 plus a equals 5, so a must equal 3. I've used a and b here for no reason. It doesn't matter what you used. You would have got the same answer if you used X, Y, Z, picture of a dog, or whatever. But for some reason, they usually use, in algebra, A, B, C, and X, Y, Z. I've used some different letters here. This is the other way that you can use it, is when one of the numbers changes. So here, I've got 5 times the amount of hours I work equals the amount I get paid. So 5 times the amount of hours I work equals the amount I get paid. So if I worked 1 hour, it'd be £5 times 1 equals 5. If I worked 10 hours, it'd be 5 times 10 equals 50. And then you can make this more complicated. So remember, this time I had my bus fare. So also remember that you don't need to write it like that, 5 times h. You can just write 5h. 5h is 5 times h. £5 per hour plus 3. So if I work for 3 hours, let's say, h would be 3, so it would be 5 times 3, 5 threes, which is 15, plus 3 is 18. So p would be 18. Okay, so that's it. That's algebra. An equation with a different number. With unknowns. An equation with unknowns. So algebra is all about solving the unknowns. We'll start off nice and simply, and then by the end see if we can make it a bit more difficult, make it a bit more interesting. So, let's go back to the studio. So that's it, that's algebra. So just a quick review. Equations are like a set of scales. They're perfectly in balance. 4 plus 2 is exactly the same as 3 plus 3. If I changed either side of that, it would go unbalanced. So here I have 2 compasses there, and it's exactly the same weight as those 2 compasses there. So I can say 2 compasses equals 2. 2 equals 2. 1 plus 1 equals 1 plus 1. If I take one away, I've got 1 equals 2, which is wrong. And you can see that's wrong because it's out of balance. So an equation is basically anything with an equal sign. This side is exactly the same as this side. Algebra is just an equation, but with unknowns. So in this example, I don't know what one of my numbers is. I've got 3 plus something, which I've called g. Remember, you can use any letter you like. 3 plus g equals 13. So, in order to find out what g is, if I take away that 3, so I've left g on its own, if I take away that 3, I've got to take away 3 from here as well. Remember, whatever I do to this side, I've got to do to this side in order for the scales to balance. So if I take away 3 from that side and 3 from that side, g is going to equal 10. Marvellous. So, you'll have this rather confusing, dubious looking thing. Work as far through it as you can. This is just an introduction to algebra. We'll start properly after half term. So if you get lost at any point, don't panic. But I'm going to give you a hint. You want to start on D. If you are unable to print this and you're doing it in your book, don't worry about putting it in order. Don't do it all A to Z. Do them one at a time. So I'm going to start with D. Now, the reason you're starting with D because it tells you what D is. D equals 6. Okay. Now let's find another one with D in it. Okay, so B is D plus 3. Now, D plus 3, we already know what D is. We worked out what D is 6 plus 3, which equals 9. So now we know what B is. B is 9. Okay, I don't know what K is yet, so I can't do K. Any with just B or D? Just B or D. Ah, here we go. D divided by 2. We know that D is 6. So 6 divided by 2 equals J, which in this case is 3. So now I've got B, D and J. And I keep on going. I'll do one more. Ah, here we go. R equals B and D. Well, B is 9. D is 6. That equals 15. So R equals 15. Okay. Just a reminder that when you see this, that just means 2 V's. So 2 times V is 2 V's, so 2 times V. So I'll write that one down there. 2V is the same as 2 times V. Just in algebra, we don't need to write the times because we know what that means when they're next to each other. Any other ones? Yeah, so 2 R's, 2 U's, 2 J's. Is there any Bob Massey style? Oh, here we go. A squared. So, well, you know how to do that one. So if A was 2, I'm not sure what A is. You just do 2 squared. Okay, cool. Let me know how you get on. That is a wrap.